Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, good friends. Good to see you. It's been a while since my last Cancer Tales. Since then, I have had four appointments in 4 appointments in 4 weeks with doctors, ending the middle of last week. So I'm now about 11 days from the last infusion, and things are going well since I last spoke. I had my second infusion after the restart in early February, and before the end of February, I developed a rash on my back that is one of the things that are indicated by the side effects listed for Opdivo. So the immunotherapy found some irritation in my skin someplace and then attacks it severely and causes this rash to spread over my body. I went to and actually had a checkup, which had all my vitals and everything else come back very, very well. It's remarkable that I've actually started feeling better, much better. So there were some problems before they had to put me back on Opdivo alone. They took your boy off because it had side effects with my liver, and then I was on high-dose steroids. And when they reintroduced me back to just Opdivo alone the first week or so, I struggled because came back, this immunotherapy drug was flowing around my body, and I really wasn't reacting well to it. I got this, then after the second 28 days later, I got my second Opdivo-only infusion, and then I got this rash. It diminished from the prescription, but it was only a 6-day course of steroids and antibiotics that my nurse practitioner put me on. It diminished, but then, following that, on the next week, on the 28th of February, I had my second PET scan, which came, 4 months and 2 days after my first one in October. PET scan does sort of a combination CAT scan, MRI on a deeper level than either one separately. And yes, it showed that the mass of my tumor, largest tumor, had grown almost double in 4 months. And the other tumor was growing as well. It didn't show really any other spots there, though. So there were some sort of shadows that they thought might be developing, but it seems that those are the two main issues. Yeah, this is something that then I reviewed with my new oncologist. So there's been a change in the team. And really, the first guy, Dr. Zhang, was great. This guy, the new guy, I'm really comfortable with. Dr. Toole, he's great. Parkview is great. The way they do their infusions, it's a modern facility. They're very proactive. They have a great app that I can use to contact my doctors, and they respond. And unlike the issues I've had with the same app with other hospitals, it's called My Chart. Great stuff. So then I met with Dr. Toole, asked him about the readings from the PET scan on the following week when I was supposed to have my next Opdivo, but he said, no, I want to do something different. We want to try a combination with Opdivo of another drug, immunotherapy drug called Opdualag. And hopefully not the same side effects, he said, as your voice. So far, after that infusion then that happened 11 days ago, I reacted very well to it. I didn't really have any severe side effects other than this great rash returned and then began to spread. It covered my whole back and was spreading over my shoulders and my legs. And this was easily done with this MyChart app. I explained the situation. I even sent a photo of my back that I had to have my father take of me. And immediately they prescribed a different antibiotic, high-dose steroids, an antihistamine that I began taking 2 days later because, by the time I sent it in, they responded. They ordered my prescription. I picked it up the next day and then was taking it. And I'm now 5 days into it. and the rash is almost gone. So this series of drugs seems to be taking care of this very well. And I feel great. But as poorly as I felt, and again, it was mostly from, I would think, from the side effects of Yervoy and the liver enzymes going 6 times the normal level and having to be pushed down by high-dose steroids. Well, I'm back on 60 milligrams of steroids. And if you watch it was in like early December Cancer Tales, I was on 80 milligrams of steroid and I was manic. I've learned how to better adjust my thinking and my schedule of my day around taking my steroids. I know what triggered the 2 panic attacks I have, and I've fought back a couple potential panic attacks since then, knowing sort of friends have given me some tips and just learning about controlling my breathing, and I haven't had panic attacks, and I'm not as anxious or as angry because I know what's been triggering those. And in addition to that, since I've come back from about the end of January, where I was really struggling after the first reintroduction of the immunotherapy and having a lot of pain in my leg and my hip, I've started proactively doing more stretching and trying to get back, because I was laid up and lost a lot of flexibility, but I'm getting some of that back. I'm also more aggressively using first aid treatments for bad joints. So RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation. And I'm doing this on a daily basis. I have a great ice pack for my knee. I can't really get ice on my hip, but I'm using heat. And that seems to be alleviating some of the pain there. And well, I'm exercising more than I was when I first got here. And I've been exercising nonstop, but I've changed it because we have a YMCA here. I can swim, and I love to swim. And I've been swimming laps. And I'm working on different strokes, 2 strokes really. Breaststroke really wide, working because I have 2 bad shoulders. I have a bad knee and bad hip. So I'm working on wide kicks and rhythmic kicks in both directions, spreading my hips. And when I'm using my arms are the wide stroke. So I go down on my really wide, not even a breaststroke, which is probably just really wide, all the way to the side, and coming back all the way to the side, pulling above my head all the way down. And I started out trying to swim 40 lengths, and it took me 43 minutes. And I've cut 5 minutes off my time, and I've actually added another, 50 yards, and keeping my time under 40 minutes today, that's a new personal best. And I feel strong. The weight that I lost when my liver enzymes went haywire, I started out here about 186, and then got up when I started taking steroids to about 192, dropped when the enzymes within 2 weeks, I lost 12 pounds. I was down to 179 pounds. And I'm back up to about 190, maybe a little bit over, depends on the day. Eating well, sleeping well, feeling strong. And if you'd have asked me, even at the end of October, or especially in November, once I started these side effects in November, December, my God, if you'd have asked me that how I would be feeling at the end of March, I didn't know whether I'd live that long. And to actually still be strong and active, and the most encouraging thing was, and this was something when they scheduled this new double dose immunotherapy cocktail that I'm my new infusion with Opdualag added to the Opdivo. And Dr. Toole scheduled me in April, May, and into early June. My question to him was, how optimistic are you that I'll make it that long? And he says, well, I'm quite optimistic. And we talked about, what happens at the end, and it's usually a quick collapse. I can stay at a plateau till the liver function really starts to go, and then it's 1, 2, 3 weeks, and and then it's gone, the use of my liver. But to be able to be strong and get it. Last week I did 2 trips. I did a 10-hour day with my dad and half brother to my niece. I call him my nephew, Cliffy. We went to Lafayette, Indiana. It was about a 2.5-hour drive each way, and went to see my high school. Their basketball team was in the semi-state, played a couple high school basketball games, and had a meal on the way back. And that was fine. That was the longest trip I made away from home, and I am anticipating being able to do more, because I feel I cannot imagine that. I could not have imagined that at this point I'd be feeling as well and as strong as I am right now. And really, it's I think there are no protocols for this very rare cancer in my liver to do anything. So what they only consider doing are things that are used for other cancers in other parts of the body. So Opdivo and Yervoy is used mostly, and you see the ads on television, and they talk about cancer in the lungs, and it's not malignant melanoma in the liver. But they're hopeful that maybe your immune system will do something to delay it. And that's another thing that I asked the doctor was, do you think that the growth that's almost doubled in size in 4 months has been delayed somewhat by the immunotherapy drugs? And he can't answer that, of course, because there's no other test subjects and it's not made for that. But what I can tell you is they've discussed other options for me, and there are none of the other options, including chemo or surgery or radiation, have any better results than the limited knowledge of the results they get from Opdivo, because again, none of this is set up to treat the cancer that I have. But the side effects of radiation, the side effects of chemo are much different than the side effects of the immunotherapy. And I think why you're seeing so many advertisements for these immunotherapy drugs is because it does give you, it may not, in my case, prolong my stay, but it's not detracting, the side effects are not detracting as much as chemo would, for example, or possibly radiation would. So I feel no pain from my liver. The pain I have and the bothersome nature of my vision, that's frustrating, but I'm not going to get that back. I don't have enough time to live to even have those operations and heal, most likely. But in my knee and my hip that I was going to have addressed. But again, my mobility has improved because I've actually been using my own therapies to address it, and it seems to have worked. So I have, in another little over 2 weeks, I'll have my next infusion, and have another 28 days after that before I see Dr. Toole. But I'll try to make another update of Cancer Tales and hope that I can show the same vigor and energy, and that I'm feeling as well then as I am now. I don't know when that will turn. I'm doing my best to stay. I'm doing nothing to risk my health at this point. Taking the meds that I'm prescribed when they're prescribed, and following the protocols, but staying. Trying to sleep, trying to exercise and eat well and connect with friends and keep my mind active and happy. And that's the other thing, that being able to communicate with friends around the world, conversations to Europe and emails all over the world, and to stay engaged with my best friends. And I'll be reaching out to more friends. And of course, this is for my website, where I'll have a series of these cancer tales and other tales. And my next episode, hopefully coming soon. Be well.